The Vatican City, a beacon of faith and power, holds secrets whispered in ancient corridors, guarded by tradition and shrouded in mystery. In the summer of 1978, Pope John Paul I's election brought hope and renewal to the Catholic Church, known for his humility and warmth. Pope John Paul I, committed to reform, set his sights on the Vatican Bank, determined to uncover the truth behind its secrecy and alleged corruption. Albino Luciani, born in a humble village, rose through the ranks of the Church, known for his deep humanity and unwavering faith. Luciani's rise was marked by humility and service, becoming a beloved figure as Bishop of Vittorio Veneto and later Patriarch of Venice. As Patriarch of Venice, Luciani embraced reform, advocating for social justice and modernization within the Church. The 1978 conclave chose Albino Luciani as Pope John Paul I, a leader who captured hearts with his warmth and commitment to the marginalized. The Vatican Bank, shrouded in secrecy, represented a paradox, a bank founded on faith, yet entangled in the darkest machinations of the secular world. Rumors of shady deals and mafia ties plagued the Vatican, with Michele Sindona's name whispered in fear and reverence. Determined to cleanse the Church, Pope John Paul I resolved to confront the Vatican Bank's issues head-on, seeking transparency and accountability. As John Paul I dug deeper, he encountered resistance at every turn. The Vatican, for all its outward piety, was no stranger to intrigue and power struggles. The old guard, accustomed to operating in the shadows, closed ranks, protecting their secrets. The Pope, with his disarming smile, represented a threat to their way of life. He found himself increasingly isolated, his attempts to reform stonewalled. He began to receive veiled threats, warnings to back down. But John Paul I refused to be intimidated. He knew the soul of the Church was at stake. Undeterred, the Pope pressed on, determined to expose the truth. Pope John Paul I, driven by faith and justice, pressed on with his investigation into the Vatican Bank, unraveling a tapestry woven from secrecy and deceit. The deeper he delved, the more he realized the extent of the rot, how deeply corruption had wrapped itself around the institution. He spent hours poring over financial documents, deciphering the complex web of transactions. The names he encountered sent chills down his spine, powerful businessmen with ties to organized crime. The weight of his discoveries weighed heavily on his heart. He had entered the papacy with a message of hope and renewal. Now he confronted a darkness that threatened to consume the very soul of the Church. Yet, despite the danger, Pope John Paul I refused to be silenced. He knew the fate of the Church rested on his shoulders. He would not allow fear to deter him from his sacred duty. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across St. Peter's Square, the Pope received a package. It was a simple envelope, unmarked and delivered by an unknown messenger. Inside, he found a single sheet of paper, typewritten and filled with names. As he scanned the list, his heart sank. It was a who's who of powerful figures, politicians, businessmen, high-ranking clergymen. Next to each name, a single word, Sindona. This was no ordinary list. It was a roadmap to the corruption that had infected the Vatican, a network of individuals bound together by greed and their association with the enigmatic financier Michele Sindona. The names on that list represented a clear and present danger to the Church, a cabal of power that stretched far beyond the Vatican walls, reaching into the heart of Italian society and beyond. The Pope's mind raced as he considered the implications. These were not mere allegations, this was evidence, tangible proof of a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of power. He knew that to expose these names would be to invite retaliation, to unleash a storm of unimaginable fury. Yet he could not, in good conscience, ignore the truth that had been laid bare before him. To do so would be to betray his faith, his office, and the countless souls who looked to the Church for guidance and hope. John Paul I, armed with the list and fueled by a sense of righteous anger, intensified his investigation. He dispatched trusted aides to discreetly gather more information, to follow the money trail wherever it led. His investigation unearthed a complex web of deceit. Shell corporations used to launder money, secret deals made in smoke-filled rooms, and a system of kickbacks and bribes that lined the pockets of the corrupt. The Vatican Bank, he discovered, had become a laundromat for the Mafia, a place where dirty money was cleansed and funneled into legitimate businesses. The bank's officials, either complicit or compromised, turned a blind eye to the source of the funds, more concerned with their own enrichment than the Church's moral standing. The Pope's investigation began to unravel a much larger conspiracy, one that implicated not just individuals, but entire institutions. He discovered links between the Vatican Bank, Italian Masonic lodges, and even elements within the Italian government. It became horrifyingly clear that the corruption he had uncovered was not an isolated incident, but a systemic problem, a cancer that had metastasized throughout Italian society. He felt a profound sense of betrayal, realizing that those entrusted with upholding the Church's values had instead betrayed them for personal gain. Time seemed to slip away as the Pope delved deeper into the darkness. His 33 days as pontiff, once filled with such promise and hope, were now shrouded in a growing sense of dread. He knew he was walking a dangerous path, that his pursuit of the truth had put him in the crosshairs of powerful and ruthless enemies. Sleep became a luxury he could no longer afford, his nights haunted by the faces of those he had vowed to protect, their trust betrayed by those they believed were shepherds of their souls. Yet, even as the walls seemed to close in around him, John Paul I found strength in his faith, in the belief that he was serving a higher purpose, that his actions, no matter how dangerous, were guided by the light of God. He knew that time was running out, that the forces arrayed against him would stop at nothing to silence him. He began to compile his findings, documenting everything he had uncovered, creating a record of the corruption that had infected the Church, a testament to his unwavering pursuit of the truth. Little did he know that his time was running out, that his 33 days as Pope were about to come to a shocking and mysterious end. A palpable tension settled over the Vatican. The Pope's usually jovial demeanour had shifted, replaced by a quiet intensity. Those closest to him noticed the change, a furrow in his brow, a lingering glance over his shoulder. The weight of his investigation was taking its toll. Whispers of the Pope's inquiries had begun to circulate through the labyrinthine halls. The old guard watched from the shadows, their faces etched with apprehension. The air crackled with unspoken fear. John Paul I, despite the growing pressure, remained resolute. He held fast to his conviction that the truth must be brought to light. The night of September 28, 1978, descended upon the Vatican like a shroud. A stillness settled over the city, broken only by the gentle whisper of fountains and the distant chime of a church bell. In the papal apartments, a single light burned, casting long shadows across the silent rooms. Pope John Paul I, his face etched with fatigue, sat at his desk, surrounded by a sea of documents. He had been working late into the night, as was his custom, poring over the latest findings of his investigation. He felt a tightness in his chest, a familiar pressure that he had learned to ignore. As he reached for another file, a sharp pain lanced through his chest, stealing his breath. He gripped the edge of the desk, his knuckles white with exertion. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and a wave of nausea swept over him. He fumbled for the button to summon his secretary, his fingers trembling. The following morning, the world awoke to shocking news. Pope John Paul I, the smiling Pope, had been found dead in his bed. The Vatican, caught off guard by the suddenness of his passing, issued a terse statement attributing his death to a heart attack. The official story was that the Pope, overwhelmed by the demands of his office, had succumbed to a massive heart attack in the early hours of the morning. However, the Vatican's haste to provide an explanation, coupled with their refusal to allow an autopsy, only served to fuel speculation and suspicion. The circumstances surrounding the Pope's death, The lack of transparency from the Vatican and the whispers of foul play that had begun to circulate even before his body was cold all pointed to a mystery that begged to be solved. Rumours spread like wildfire, fueled by the vacuum of official information and the fertile ground of conspiracy theories. Some whispered of poison, a silent and efficient way to eliminate an enemy. Others spoke of a staged heart attack, a way to make a murder look natural. The Vatican's silence on the matter, their unwavering insistence on the official story, only served to deepen the mystery. The world mourned the loss of a pope who had promised so much, a man who had captured the hearts of millions with his warmth, humility, and unwavering commitment to the poor and marginalized. But beneath the grief and the tributes, a question lingered: what really happened to Pope John Paul I? The official Vatican investigation into the death of Pope John Paul I concluded that he had died of natural causes, a massive heart attack brought on by the stress of his office. However, the lack of a full autopsy, the inconsistencies in the Vatican's account of events, and the whispers of a cover-up have left many questioning the true circumstances of his death. The sudden death of a pope, especially one who had expressed a desire to reform the Vatican Bank and confront corruption within the Church, inevitably sparked speculation of foul play. The fact that John Paul I had only been pope for 33 days, a period often cited by conspiracy theorists as evidence of a sinister plot, only added fuel to the fire. The Vatican's response to the speculation surrounding the Pope's death has been seen by some as evasive and defensive. Their refusal to release key documents relating to the Pope's health and the circumstances of his death has done little to quell the rumours and suspicions. The death of Pope John Paul I remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. The questions surrounding his sudden and unexpected demise continue to linger, casting a long shadow over the Vatican and fueling speculation about what secrets may still be hidden within its walls. The death of Pope John Paul I left behind a void, a sense of unfinished business that continues to haunt the Vatican to this day. The questions surrounding his sudden demise, like shards of a shattered mirror, reflect a multitude of possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. The missing pieces of the puzzle, the unanswered questions, the inconsistencies in the official narrative, the whispers of a cover-up, only serve to deepen the mystery. Why was a full autopsy never performed on the Pope's body, a standard procedure in cases of sudden and unexpected death, especially for someone of his stature? The Vatican's explanation, that the Pope's personal physician, who was not present at the time of his death, had ruled out the need for an autopsy, did little to satisfy those who suspected foul play. What became of the documents and personal writings that Pope John Paul I was known to have been working on in the days leading up to his death? These papers, which reportedly contained his thoughts on the reforms he wished to implement within the Church, as well as his findings on the Vatican Bank scandal, have never been made public. Why did the Vatican maintain a wall of silence in the face of mounting speculation and accusations? Their reluctance to address the concerns of those who questioned the official narrative, their insistence on a version of events that seemed at odds with the known facts, only served to fuel the flames of suspicion. Pope John Paul I's legacy is a complex one, forever intertwined with the mystery surrounding his death. He is remembered as the smiling Pope, a man of great warmth, humility and compassion, who brought a brief moment of hope and renewal to the Catholic Church. Yet his papacy is also shrouded in an aura of tragedy, a reminder of the powerful forces that operate within the Vatican and the lengths to which they will go to protect their interests. The questions surrounding his death continue to cast a long shadow over the Church, a constant reminder of the unfinished business that lingers beneath the surface. The Vatican's failure to provide a full and transparent accounting of the events surrounding his death has only served to erode trust and fuel speculation. Some believe that Pope John Paul I was murdered, silenced by those who feared his reformist agenda and his determination to expose corruption within the Church. Others maintain that he died of natural causes, his death tragically premature, but ultimately unavoidable. The truth, like the man himself, remains elusive, lost somewhere in the labyrinthine corridors of the Vatican. Despite the passage of time, the memory of Pope John Paul I continues to inspire and intrigue. He is a symbol of both the Church's capacity for good and its vulnerability to the forces of darkness that lurk within its midst. The search for truth is a journey fraught with obstacles, especially at the Vatican's doorstep. The Vatican guards its secrets closely, protecting its image above all else. Pope John Paul I's mysterious death highlights the challenges of challenging the Vatican's narrative. Journalists and researchers have spent decades seeking the truth, facing stonewalling and denials. Yet the human desire for truth persists. Despite time, the search for answers continues. New books and documentaries attempt to shed light on this enduring mystery. The Vatican remains largely silent, letting the official narrative stand. Whether the full truth will ever be revealed remains to be seen. The legacy of Pope John Paul I extends far beyond the confines of the Vatican. His brief papacy, though tragically cut short, serves as a timely reminder of the importance of transparency, accountability, and the need for institutions, no matter how powerful, to be held accountable for their actions. In a world increasingly grappling with issues of corruption, abuse of power, and the erosion of trust in institutions, the story of Pope John Paul I resonates with a chilling familiarity. It serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even within the most hallowed halls, darkness can take root, and the pursuit of truth can be a dangerous and often lonely endeavor. The questions surrounding his death continue to challenge us to demand more from those in positions of authority, to hold them accountable for their actions, and to never stop seeking the truth, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be. The legacy of the smiling Pope is a complex one, marked by both tragedy and a glimmer of hope. It is a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge us to this day. The Vatican, a place of immense spiritual power, has long been shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Its history is woven with threads of faith, devotion, and political maneuvering. The death of Pope John Paul I exposed the fragility of trust within the Church's sacred walls. His pursuit of transparency threatened a system that had operated in the shadows. The Church is comprised of individuals driven by their own ambitions and beliefs. His story serves as a reminder that human fallibility can have devastating consequences. His death exposed a darkness beneath the surface, a reminder that power can corrupt. The unanswered questions surrounding the death of Pope John Paul I continue to resonate. They remind us that the pursuit of truth and justice is an ongoing struggle. The passage of time has not extinguished the desire for answers. Books and documentaries continue to seek light on that fateful September. The search for truth is a testament to the human spirit's refusal to accept easy answers. John Paul I's death reminds us of life's fragility and the power of hope. His legacy speaks to the enduring human spirit and the belief that truth will prevail. The call for transparency is a plea for reconciliation. It is a call for the Church to confront its demons and emerge stronger. If you want to delve deeper into this case, we recommend the book In God's Name by David Yallop. You can find the link to the book in the channel description. The book thoroughly unveils the shocking revelations surrounding the mysterious death of Pope John Paul I. Thank you for your attention and for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we would appreciate it if you did. This way, you won't miss any of our future videos.